All right, John, I'm counting on you," said the head of HR, Michael, patting my shoulder. In front of me was one of this year's new hires, a male employee who is also the son of our company's president. "My name's Alex. Nice to meet you." He glared at me with a fierce look in his eyes. "Nice to meet you. I'm the supervisor, John. If you have any questions, feel free to ask." I did my best to be pleasant and accommodating. Our company is a family-run business with a hereditary system. This means he's going to be the next president. He's been assigned to the operations planning department for training, and he's under my supervision. To be honest, he looks a bit like a tough guy, like he's straight out of a gang. But being the president's son, he must have received a good education. That's what I thought. "My name is John. I'm the supervisor of the store planning section in the operations planning department of a food company. My job mainly involves planning new restaurant openings and campaigns for our chain stores." I immediately showed Alex to his desk and started teaching him how things work. But the problem was that he was incredibly incompetent. First of all, he had no motivation and lacked focus. He couldn't read difficult words, nor could he use a computer. He was unaware of general knowledge and manners. He was unfriendly, had poor memory, and didn't listen to others. He didn't reflect on his mistakes and kept repeating the same ones. I never imagined he would be this incapable. And he's supposed to be the next president. Training him was extremely challenging. However, I couldn't scold him harshly, no matter how bad of a subordinate he was. After all, he's the president's son. If I upset him, he might complain to the president, and I could get fired. Every day, I walked on eggshells around him, and everyone in the department was careful around him. Then, something happened with Alex. He made an unbelievable mistake. I'm not even sure if it can be called a mistake, but he shared information about our company's new restaurant opening on his personal social media account. It wasn't something that could be brushed off as a careless act. As a result, a rival company in the same industry got ahead of us. Moreover, their store seemed more upscale but had lower prices. Because of that, our new store's sales went to the rival. I thought I had hammered home the importance of confidential information management during the new employee training. "Hey Alex, can we talk? Do you have some time?" I informed him of the situation, gave him a warning, and urged him to reflect on his actions. But he nonchalantly said, "Oh really? That's just bad luck, then." I had to restrain myself from grabbing him by the collar as anger rushed to my head. "Everyone has been working hard every day, even doing overtime to prepare for this, and your careless action has ruined it all," I said as calmly as I could, but Alex looked dissatisfied. "Come on. Who would think that many people would see a regular employee's personal social media account? I mostly have friends as followers. Honestly, I'm more surprised that so many people saw it." Looking at him pouting like a child, I was utterly exasperated. "What are you talking about? The internet is accessible to people all over the world. You can't complain about who sees it once it's out there. You're a professional now. Please act more responsibly as an employee of our company." I spoke slowly, trying to make him understand. Alex then made a bored face and replied in a drawn-out voice, "Yo, okay. What's with that attitude?" I felt completely disrespected as a supervisor. The next day, as soon as I got to the office, Michael called me in. "John, are you bullying Alex at work?" Michael accused me, but I had no idea what he was talking about. "What do you mean? I haven't been bullying him." "However, Alex says that he became depressed after you scolded him harshly and insulted him in front of other employees." "What? I never insulted him. I just gave him a warning." But no matter what I said, it was useless. "Alex is threatening to sue you in court," Michael continued. "What? A lawsuit?" "Yes, That's right. However, he's willing to drop the case if you voluntarily resign. That's absurd. I don't want to resign, especially when I haven't done anything wrong. But that's what he's saying. If you lose in court, you might have to pay him thousands of dollars in damages. Are you sure about this? Hearing this, I fell silent. There was no fact of bullying and no evidence, so losing in court seemed impossible. But what if, by some fluke, I did lose? If it goes to court, I'll have to hire a lawyer. That will inevitably end up costing me money. Damn it. How did it come to this? Anyway, to resolve this amicably, the HR department suggests you should consider voluntary resignation. With Michael saying this, I felt I had no choice but to resign. It was as if I had been fired. In the end, I submitted my resignation and was set to leave the company at the end of the month. When I returned from HR, Alex was grinning at me. That's what happens when someone gets cheeky with the future president like me. He said it loudly enough for me to hear, as if talking to himself. There was no point in responding, so I pretended not to hear. The 2 weeks until my resignation were hellish. Every day, Alex would constantly sneer at me, sometimes even hurling personal insults. I endured it all in silence. If I argued back, he might accuse me of bullying again. And knowing him, he might even write about it on social media. I decided it was best not to stir things up. As the days passed and my final day approached, "John, can I talk to you for a moment?" Catherine, my boss, approached me. Catherine is a famously beautiful woman in the company, a department head. I think she's about 32 years old, 2 years older than me. "Jess, what is it? How about we go for a drink tonight, just the two of us? I can throw you a farewell party, but consider this a substitute. I'll pay for it," she offered. I had no plans, so I happily agreed. Though it was the first time I was going out for drinks alone with a superior from the same department, I was secretly thrilled. Catherine was quite my type. Her one-length long hair was softly curled at the ends, her eyelashes were long, and her eyes were wide and bright. She looked childlike when she laughed. I liked that about her. But I knew she had a boyfriend, so I always tried to restrain my feelings. Still, I wondered if it was okay for her to go out drinking alone with a man, even if she had a boyfriend. Wouldn't he be mad? Well, as long as nobody finds out. No, there's nothing going on. It's just a farewell party. With these thoughts swirling in my head, I finished up my work and left the office on time. When I arrived at the bar we had agreed to meet at, Catherine was already there. "John, you're early. Over here." She waved her hand to call me over. I walked to the back of the bar and sat down across from her at her table. "Catherine, sorry to keep you waiting. Tough day, huh?" "Indeed. What would you like to drink?" "I'll start with a beer, please." I ordered a beer, and we toasted together. A drink after work is just delightful. But really, Alex has been quite a handful. Catherine leaned in close to my ear, as if sharing a secret. She probably did so out of caution that someone from our company might be listening, but the closeness made my heart race. "Jess, I agree. John, you've had a rough time with him." As my direct supervisor, she knew the reason for my resignation. And since I was removed from being Alex's mentor, Catherine had been looking after him. She always talked to me about how much trouble Alex had been causing her. "That kid is shockingly incompetent at work, and he's so defiant too." I found myself nodding and agreeing with her a lot during our conversation. As we talked, the drinks flowed, and I could tell that Catherine was getting tipsy, her face turning red. "Really, that kid is such a problem. It's all because his dad spoiled him too much." I suddenly felt a sense of unease when she spoke about him as if he were her own family. "Wait, Catherine, did you just say that kid as in?" "Oh, I guess I never told you. Alex is actually my younger brother. What? I was shocked and asked again. But your last names are different, aren't they? Yes, our parents divorced. I was taken by our mom, and Alex stayed with our dad. Dad's last name is Smith, and Mom's is Abbott. I couldn't hide my surprise at this unexpected revelation. I couldn't believe Catherine was the president's daughter. And that seemingly hopeless guy who resembled a delinquent was actually Catherine's brother. Catherine, perhaps fueled by the alcohol, continued talking more freely. She said their parents divorced when she was in high school and he was in first grade. Alex had always been a spoiled and study-hating child, defiant even towards their parents. Dad is out of his mind to think of making such a kid the next president just because he's his son, Catherine said, letting out a deep sigh. I tried to discipline him strictly, not spoiling him just because we're siblings, but he's still defiant towards me. Then, Catherine sighed deeply and added, but you know, I can kind of understand how Alex feels. Their father, Mr. Smith, had always been solely focused on his work, neglecting his family. The children were both more attached to their mother. Then suddenly, he was separated from her. Young Alex must have felt very lonely. Mr. Smith never remarried and left household matters to a housekeeper. He was always too busy with work to attend Alex's school events like sports day or parent-teacher meetings. That's why he grew up so twisted. I can blame him entirely. Hearing her story, I felt a bit of sympathy for Alex. Of course, there are many people who grow up without a parent and still turn out fine. But Alex was different. Perhaps Alex's attitude at work is his way of getting back at Dad for not paying attention to him when he was young. Dad understands that, so he can scold Alex harshly. But it's not fair for you, John, to suffer because of it. That's just not right. So, John. Suddenly, she grabbed my hands with both of hers. Why don't we join forces and teach them both a lesson? What? And so, our strategy meeting continued until late into the night. The next day, on my supposed last day at work, Catherine and I stormed into the president's office. In her hand was a voice recorder. Recorded on it were Alex's verbal abuses towards me and Catherine. Catherine had been secretly recording since she became his mentor, planning to discuss his behavior with Mr. Smith someday. Hearing the recordings, Mr. Smith was shocked and fell silent for a while. This proves that John wasn't bullying Alex. If anything, it was John who was being bullied. Catherine and I explained to Mr. Smith about Alex's lack of motivation and his disrespectful attitude at work, detailing the actual situation in the office. We also reiterated the details of the incident involving Alex and social media, which had caused the company significant damage. Upon hearing this, Mr. Smith held his head, groaning in distress. I knew he was a troubled son, but I never imagined it was to this extent. We need to immediately cancel John's resignation, and please, Dad, you need to strictly scold Alex. He needs a father's stern love right now, Catherine urged. Her words seemed to awaken something in Mr. Smith. Maybe I don't have the right to scold him. I've always neglected our home, leaving everything up to him. Catherine, seeing the president look down dejectedly, raised her voice. Come on, what are you saying? It's because of you that Alex turned out this way. It's your responsibility to scold him. That's what's best for him. Mr. Smith then spent some time in deep thought, looking down. Eventually, he looked up and said, "All right, I'll try. Thank you, Catherine." He smiled at Catherine. Then he turned to me. "John, I'm sorry my son caused you trouble. We'll cancel your resignation. I'm counting on you to come back to work tomorrow." "Yes, Mr. Smith. Thank you." I thanked the president. The next day, Alex was transferred to a subsidiary's restaurant to work on-site. It was arranged to keep his identity as the president's son a secret there and to ensure he starts from the ground up, working hard. Mr. Smith apparently had a talk with his son the night before. He scolded him about his behavior towards me and his poor work attitude. I hope this leads Alex to reflect and change his ways. Anyway, it all turned out well. Thanks to your help, John. I really appreciate it. I hardly did anything. That's not true. Facing the president, even if he's my father, was nerve-wracking. This whole thing worked out because you were there with me, Catherine said, smiling brightly. After that, Catherine and I began talking more and often went out for drinks after work. And surprisingly, Catherine and I started dating. It turns out she had broken up with her boyfriend a while ago. I've actually been thinking you were quite nice for some time now, in the dim light of a stylish bar, being told that by the most beautiful woman in the office. I couldn't help but fall for her. She was already my type, and I had been holding back my feelings. But if our relationship goes well and leads to marriage, I'll end up becoming Alex's brother-in-law. I hope he becomes a decent person by then. With these thoughts, I might be getting ahead of myself, but I couldn't help poking fun at myself as I continued to work hard every day.